Kevin Durso, 97.3 ESPN.com, covers the Flyers. It sounds like, or it looks like, Kevin, they're going to have to do it with Brian Elliott in net, which obviously they're not as good typically on the road, and they're going to go with Elliott in the road game here. So how's this matchup shape up for them tonight against Columbus on the road?
It shapes up pretty well when you consider the lineup that Columbus has. They're still dealing with all those injuries, and as a result of that, you're looking at a situation where Columbus is just really battered, and it's a team that looks like the will is starting to go away. I kind of got that sense from watching them on Tuesday, that it's a team that's just hanging on for dear life at this point. So they really, really need to just try to do what they can to stay in the race at this point. And as a result of that, you're looking at a situation where the Flyers can really take advantage of what they have in front of them here and get another big 2 points just like they did on Tuesday.
Yeah, they've won all 3 games this year with the Blue Jackets. They beat them 5-1 on Tuesday night. And a lot of people who watched that game, and you were there, Kevin, didn't think the Flyers brought their best effort, yet still were able to kind of dominate the game.
Yeah, for sure. I did not think that was their best game. It wasn't even really close, to be honest. And yet you get take advantage of a couple early bounces, and that's what goes your way. It really makes a big difference when you're throwing the puck at the net and you're getting some opportunity. You're creating your own opportunities. As much as they're lucky goals, you're creating your own luck in that sense. So for the Flyers to play not their best game, come out and win a game on the score 5-1 that says otherwise, it sure looks like a convincing win, but it's not. Realistically, just kind of sets them up to having a better game tonight, where they can really show what their full capability is and put another team away. That's kind of what this is all about. It's really, really, really a similar situation to playing Florida a week ago, where you had a chance to win 2 games in the week, and by winning 2 games in the week, you had a shot to create some separation. Same thing tonight. You have a chance to really create some separation.
Now, in that game, Carter Hart made 28 saves, and obviously you're not going to have him tonight. What is different about the team when Elliott plays as opposed to Hart? What are the 2 styles that those guys bring? Does that change anything about this team in general?
To my mind, no, and it really shouldn't either. It's one of those things where it doesn't matter who should be playing in goal. You should be giving the same effort in front of the guy no matter what happens. And when Brian Elliott plays, I just think that you're looking for some veteran presence. One of the areas where I think Brian Elliott's a lot better than Carter Hart, at least early in Carter Hart's career, is handling the puck and communicating with the defenseman when he does play the puck. So that's an area where I think that Brian Elliott brings a little bit of a calmness to the back end. He's able to kind of settle things down, stops everything for a split second when he is controlling the puck, and is able to move everything on out from there. But realistically, I also think that this is a spot where they feel comfortable with him in goal, just because you gave Carter Hart 3 starts in a row, and you gave him a shot to really get back into a rhythm. He has gotten into that rhythm, but you don't want to burn him out during this stretch run either. You're in a really good spot. It's perfectly okay to give Brian Elliott 1 start here and go right back to Carter Hart when the weekend hits.
All right. You get to see, these guys up close almost every night. And Travis Konechny, career-high 51 points. He had 2 goals and 3 assists against Columbus. What kind of growth have you seen from him in your time the last couple of seasons covering this team? And how much does he mean to this particular team?
Well, to this team, he really means just about everything. When they lost him for a few games, you noticed his absence. It was really big. It was showing he's kind of becoming an irreplaceable guy to this lineup, just with the way that he brings a certain energy to the game, and his scoring ability is certainly one of the tops on this team. I go back a few years back, actually, at training camp. He had finished off the year. It was the first year he had scored 24 goals, and he really picked it up in the second half of the year. And when I remember asking him at that time what it does for your confidence when you're moving forward and going into a new season, and he said it was going to build his confidence a little bit, and it was going to make him a lot better to be that guy for an entire year. And he matched his goal total from that year, and that was 49 points a year ago. So this year when he came in, and I think there were people who maybe thought things were going to be slow at the start of the year, given the late arrival to training camp. He was going to have to take some time to learn more than the rest of the guys who had been there for that week prior. And instead, he just jumped right in and really grabbed the bull by the horns and just took off with this. And he's been one of their key players throughout. And what I like about him, too, is he scores in so many different ways. He scored on a deflection on Tuesday, but he's got a really good shot, or he can go to the net and grab a rebound. He's doing all those things. and it really makes a big impact when you have a guy who can score from virtually anywhere on the ice and be that energy player that's playing in your top six.
All right, Kevin Durso covers the Flyers. They play Columbus tonight, and one guy who will not be there, but he will be playing, is Shane Gostisbehere. He's going to be loaned to the Phantoms. So what does this message kind of send? It looks like there's a decision that's going to be coming up for the Flyers. We know the trade deadline is on Monday, and they trying to, get his conditioning going for them to use him, for maybe someone else to be interested. Is this an interesting decision by them?
It's not really. I'm not surprised at all that this happened. This is more or less just to make sure he's available to play at any point during the rest of the year. They really rushed him back for that one game against New Jersey. So when, the rest of the team looked bad in that game too, but his mistakes were even more magnified, and he looked like he was still kind of shaking the rust off. So this is to let him get his legs back underneath him. He can be down in the minors for 14 days with no pressure. It gives him time to play in a few games, to continue to get regular ice time. And I don't foresee anything happening with him at the trade deadline. I think that you'd be selling pretty low if you tried to deal him now. But I do think that he's an interesting player come the offseason when you have to make a decision between keeping a guy you really invested a lot in the future with Gostisbehere. He's still got 4 years under contract at this point, but you also have a guy in Robert Haig who's a restricted free agent, who's filled in admirably and who's done exactly what you can ask of from a third-pairing defenseman. So the Flyers will have a decision to make between those two guys, and especially just given Gostisbehere's future, because you really were hoping that this year would be that bounce-back year for him after another down year, and it hasn't been the case at all. And you have to start to wonder if, maybe this year was the one chance that he had under Chuck Fletcher to determine whether or not he was going to remain a big part of this team's future. So that's why I think he's an interesting question going to the offseason.
Okay, another name. It was the Kings were here in January. You were in the building, and the buzz started. Jeff Carter, his name kind of was a little bit of a murmur, but Monday's the trade deadline. Could Jeff Carter and the Flyers be heading towards a reunion? Is that something that's being talked about, and does it make sense?
I certainly think it's being talked about. I do think that there would be potential interest there, just given the fact that the one area I think that they are really looking to add to is the center depth. I think that the lingering issue with Nolan Patrick and the migraines has just been around for the entire year. That's longer than obviously I think anybody would have expected. And because of that, with the way the team is positioned right now, you're in a really good spot in third place in the division, and a lot of it's in front of you in terms of what you can do to maintain that positioning and maybe even make a move to challenge for a spot higher. Not that it's as likely, but you could make a move to potentially challenge. In that sense, I can understand why they'd be looking. I don't know that Jeff Carter makes a whole lot of sense for this team at this moment, just because, first of all, you're going to have to get very creative to make his cap hit work. And then second of all, he's got 2 more years remaining on his contract. After the fact, I don't think you want to box out anybody. If this was strictly going to be a guy who maybe had 1 year left or who had the rest of this season, then you could make a decision on how he fit after that. Go for it and see what you can do. But in that case, I don't think you want to give up a lot of assets to get a player who makes a lot of money, who has a lot of years left on his contract that could possibly get in the way of somebody young like a Morgan Frost taking a permanent position in the lineup.
Let me ask you this. It's something we threw around earlier this week. Would you think the Flyers would be interested in if a team called them, say, for a Voracek? Would they have to be like, you know what? We think we can make the playoffs right now, but that might help us big picture. Would they have to consider it if someone called them for a deal of that magnitude?
It's funny. I think that if you had asked me that question at the start of this season and said that, depending on the outcome of this year, if someone came to you with an offer like that and was willing to try to make that work, I think you would definitely listen. Now I don't think so as much, because if there's anything that I've seen out of Jake Voracek in the last several weeks, it's a guy who is completely bought into what Alain Vigneault is doing with this team. His attention to detail in the defensive end has been greater than I think I've ever seen it since he became a Flyer. And because of that, now that he's buying into both sides of the ice and he's playing a complete game, and he's really playing with more energy than I can remember seeing in the last 5 years, those things make him become a more valuable piece to the lineup than he was before. I do think that if you would have told me that before this season, you were starting to head down a path where he was becoming a replaceable guy as well. But I think that he's become much more irreplaceable as he's shown the energy that you need to have constantly, and as he's paid more attention to detail on the defensive side of the game.
All right, it's Flyers Blue Jackets, and by the way, if the Flyers win this, Columbus has lost 6 straight games. They had a 10-game win streak, but have been miserable since. They would sweep the season series after last year, Columbus sweeping them, so it shows you how far they are. Durso for all the Flyers stuff tonight, and of course, he, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man, and we got Flyers hockey for you coming up. On Saturday, we'll have that game against the Jets on Saturday afternoon. And then they'll be back on the radio on Tuesday night against the Sharks. And then on Friday against the Rangers next week. So getting down the stretch run, 22 games left for the Fly Guys.